Namaste and welcome, yogis. Thank you for joining me today. We're going to be going through a 15-minute stretch workout poses that office workers in particular can do. We're going to be focusing on the 3 to 4 areas that office workers really find quite tired. And that's going to be our shoulders, we're going to be focusing on legs, and a little bit around our glutes and our hips as well. Really focusing to activate those areas whilst at the same time creating balance and stretch through lengthening. So let's get straight into it. The first component that we'll go through is our shoulders. So obviously if you're sitting at a computer for most of the day, your shoulders might become quite tight, quite achy, and you'll also be reducing the space and the length between the base of your head, your neck, and the top of your shoulders. So let's go through some poses that you can do to lengthen, stretch, and relieve that pain. So the first pose that I'd like to guide you through is called puppy pose. So we come to a neutral tabletop position. Our hands are underneath our shoulders, our knees are underneath our hips, and we keep the alignment between our knees and our hips. We want to make sure they're nice and straight in line. Feet are gently untucked. And then whenever we're ready, we slowly creep our hands forward, reaching down. So to whatever point it's most comfortable for you. And then whenever you've reached your maximum point, slowly reaching your head down to the ground. And you really want to focus on creating that space between your neck and your top of your shoulders. With each inhale, can you expand through the back of your shoulder blades? And then with each exhale, softly release and melt your chest into the earth. I'd like to go through is called thread the needle. So this is a really great shoulder opener, as well as creating a little bit of movement and dynamic strength through your upper spine. So again, we come to a neutral tabletop position. You inhale to reach your left arm up to the sky, and then exhale as you thread that arm underneath your right armpit. Maybe staying here, maybe softly reaching your left ear onto the mat. And maybe you'd like to create a bit of a half bind with your arm, reaching it behind you. Or you can just simply keep your palm pressing into the earth. Whenever you're ready, slowly coming back to center, reaching your left arm up one last time. And then softly placing it onto the ground. So you can repeat this on the other side as well. So we'll inhale to reach our right arm up to the sky. And exhale, thread that right arm underneath your left armpit. Maybe reaching your left ear onto the mat. And really pushing through your left palm. Maybe creating a soft bind through your back here as well. Otherwise, just focus on breathing into that right shoulder blade. Whenever you're ready, slowly coming back to center. And the next pose we're going to do is going to be a prone twist. So this will really focus on creating a little bit more space in the actual shoulder socket and releasing a little bit of tension through our spine as well. So prone twist basically means that we're going to be on our stomach. Supine twist is on our back. So let's come to our stomach. And then we're going to reach our left arm out alongside us. Make sure it's in line with the shoulder. And then keep your right palm underneath your right shoulder blade as you bring your right heel to your buttocks. Whenever you're ready, slowly looking over to the right as you roll your body over to the left. Maybe your right foot reaches the ground. Just readjusting and relaxing through the head. Maybe you'd like to reach your right arm up and around you for a half bind. And whenever you're ready, coming back to center, slowly rolling onto your belly and swapping sides. So place your left palm underneath your left shoulder, reaching your right arm out alongside you, making sure it's in line with the shoulder blade. And then bringing your left heel to your left buttocks. And then softly looking over to the left as you roll your body over to the right. Maybe you'd like to roll your left shoulder up and down. And really feel into that right shoulder socket. And whenever you're ready, just slowly come back to center. We're going to be staying on our stomachs for a little bit of a back bend. So we're going to be coming into our locust variation. We can leave our palms underneath our shoulders, zip up our legs, slight engagement through the quads and through the glutes. As we inhale, we're going to lift up our chest, lift up our hands, really squeezing the shoulder blades behind us. Maybe if this feels good, maybe you'd like to reach your arms behind you, maybe reaching up your legs. Maybe even clasping your hands behind your back and then reaching up a little bit more. Always make sure you're softly gazing down here so you don't crunch through your neck. With each inhale, can you expand through your upper back? And with each exhale, can you melt into your lower back a little bit more? And release. To a standing position now, we're going to focus on the leg component. So a lot of people don't necessarily think about the legs when you associate lower back pain or maybe upper back pain, but like everything, our body is all intertwined and interconnected. So definitely creating stretching and length through your legs and actually activating that space can be really beneficial. So what we'll begin with is just a simple forward fold. So you can create some dynamic movement between that, alternating between a forward fold and halfway lift. So bring your feet about hip distance apart, soft bend through the knees, maybe reaching your arms up overhead, and then hinging at the hips, bending through the knees as you bow down to the earth. And this is your forward fold. Really focus on lengthening through your hamstrings, feeling that connection between your glutes and your legs. And then maybe like to inhale, halfway lift, lengthen through the spine, maybe straightening out through the legs. And then exhale, forward fold. And you can repeat that a couple more times. So inhale to halfway lift, and then exhale to forward fold. Let's move to our next position now, which will be a seated forward fold. So reaching all the way down to a comfortable seated position, legs out in front of you. Maybe you like to remove fleshy parts from underneath you. With a nice straight spine, we'll inhale, reach our arms up. And then exhale, hinge forward from the hips. And just let your hands come to wherever they do. It's not a competition on how far you can get your hands towards your feet. You might like to alternate this between keeping a straight spine and then keeping a round spine and see if you can actually create that movement in your lower back, kind of like we were doing with the forward fold and halfway lift. So really focus on stretching your hamstrings here. going to roll over our knees and come to one of the most favorite positions, our downward dog. So really placing the palms down, spreading the fingers wide. Coming into a tabletop position as you tuck your toes and lift your knees. You can do a little bit of core work here if you like as well. This is really great for lengthening through your tailbone and activating your core. And then exhale, release, lift your hips up to the sky. Maybe you'd like to bend through the knees, alternating each leg down onto the ground. Just remember the focus here is to create length through your entire spine. Create that alignment and expansion through your heart space and your lower back. Doesn't necessarily mean your heels have to be on the ground. That's not the focus. If they are, just a soft bend through the knees can really release through your spine. With each inhale, can you lengthen a little bit more? And with each exhale, can you melt towards the ground just a tiny bit further? You can also alternate between child's pose and downward dog. So inhale to shift forward, and then exhale, spread your knees, placing them on the outside of the mat. Untuck your toes, and then slowly reaching your hips back. Your arms stay lifted and active. And this really creates space through the hips and through the lower back at the same time. Let's shift back to our downward dog. As we inhale, lift the right leg to the sky. And exhale, bring your right knee to your right wrist, lowering the shin. And we're going to come into our pigeon pose. This is a really fantastic one for creating space through your hips. If your hips are really tight, you can move your heel closer towards your groin. If you would like a little bit more of a challenge, you can move your heel away. Just look behind you and make sure your leg is lengthened and straight along the ground, toes untucked. And you can just stay up here, or you can melt your chest down. Definitely try and stay here for a long period of time, maybe a minute or so, maybe even 30 seconds to start off with if you have never done this pose before. And then whenever you're ready, switch to the opposite side. If you find that your hips just do not want to do this at all, there is an alternative called figure four. And this way you can lie onto your back. And then you can bring your right heel over your left thigh and just focus on really expanding that hip out and just extending it through that space. You can stay here if that's enough for you. Otherwise, you can slowly lift your left foot off the ground and bring your knees in towards your chest. You should feel that all through your glutes, which is extremely important to release as well as activate if you're an office worker. The last pose I'll go through before we wrap up is our favorite bridge pose. So this is really amazing first thing in the morning to activate your glutes before you sit down. So bring your feet to hip distance apart, move your heels in close towards your buttocks. And then whenever you feel like your spine and your tailbone has been lengthened along the ground, inhale to lift up, lift your hips up to the sky, slowly rolling your spine up to meet them. And really press through evenly through your balls of your feet, your calves, your quads, your glutes. You want an even distribution of energy through those areas, through those muscle groups. And you can just repeat these a couple of times, really focusing on slowly rolling down and up through the spine. You don't want to be jerking through the spine here. You want to really focus on creating that strong alignment. Thank you just so much for being with me through this really quick 15-minute series. I really hope you enjoy it and it benefits you. Just a few little tips and tricks that you can do throughout your office day. Until next time.